Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City's October 28th, 2021 virtual hearing. My name is Nicholas Blendy. I am your disembodied voice for today. I apologize for my voice. I am home in quarantine with COVID-19, so bear with us. As you can see on the screen, the outline of today's packet is up, and I will now go through that. First, we're introducing the WebEx platform. Cisco WebEx is the online meeting platform that the City of Baltimore uses to conduct all of its virtual meetings. The Board of Estimates, the City Council, and the Planning Department have used it to hold virtual meetings since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some basics. In order to fully utilize the WebEx system, members of the general public should have access to a laptop, an iPad, a smartphone, or a similar device with camera and microphone capabilities. If your electronic device does not have microphone capabilities, then you will need to use the phone number provided below to dial in. To participate in the WebEx meeting, members of the public will have to download the WebEx app through their smartphones or click on the following link to access the online hearing. You can see that on the screen and the access code and the password. The Board of Liquor License Commissioners suggests that if you are going to use your smartphone, iPad, or similar device, that you have downloaded the application at least one day before today's date in order to ensure that you have access to the program and that it's been properly updated and the like. And if any member of the public does not have access to a computer, a smartphone, or a similar device, then they can call in the following number below and enter the access code to listen only to the hearing. And that number is at the bottom of the screen, 408-418-9388, access code 2347-637-2708. The materials, evidence, and related items for today's docket. All copies of the short docket, which provides a brief description of the cases before the board, and the long docket, which includes all application materials, can be found on our website under hyperlinks of today's date, October 28th, 2021. For the online hearings, the board observes a 48-hour rule for evidence, meaning that all evidence to be considered at today's hearing must have been submitted up until 48 hours before 11 a.m., the start of today's hearing, meaning all evidence must have been submitted no later than 11 a.m. on Tuesday, October 26, 2021. If any evidence is submitted to the board later than that date and time, may not be considered by the board during the hearing. All evidence should be submitted via email to the board's Assistant Executive Secretary, Ms. Stacy Russell, at stacy.russell@baltimorecity.gov. And I note that as we are virtual, the board will not be accepting any documents in person. Related items, amendments to applications made by applicants or their representatives will not be accepted after October 14th for any case being heard today, October 28th, 2021. If an applicant or his or her representative attempts to amend the application being heard on October 28th, 2021 after October 14th, the case will automatically be postponed. In addition to the posting of today's docket online, licensees and the applicants will have mailed a letter instructing them of the date and time of their virtual hearing. Some procedures for how today's docket is going to run. First, I am reading the preliminary instructions and general ground rules for this process. I will be calling the cases in the order listed on the short docket. I will then ask for the applicant and his or her representatives to identify themselves, and if applicable, have the applicant and any supporting witnesses be sworn in. Then we will move to the case hearing portion, where the board will provide an opportunity for the applicant and his or her representative to present their case to the board. The board may ask questions of the attorney or the applicant. Upon the conclusion of the case, the chairman will then ask any individual who's on the call and who have access to the necessary computer, smartphone, iPad, or similar device if they would like to testify in support or in opposition to the application. If an individual does wish to testify, then he or she will need to use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of the WebEx platform and then be recognized. They will need to identify themselves and then be sworn in before they can testify. Remind you that All individuals who testify are subject to to questioning by the board and cross-examination by the attorney or the applicant. And remember, if you have access only to a phone, you will not have the opportunity to testify, as your camera needs to be on in order to be sworn under oath. After all testimony and evidence is presented to the board will vote on the application before them. The assistant executive secretary will then read any exhibits into the record. Lastly, the board is not authorized to discuss non-case related matters today. The board is serving in its quasi-judicial capacity and authorized only to hear testimony and evidence related to the cases that are before it on today's docket. The board is not authorized to discuss any other cases or policy-related matters during these virtual hearings. Some general ground rules and helpful information for today's hearing. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking. This will help minimize feedback and extra noise. Please identify yourself and state the spelling of your name before you speak. We ask that you please speak slowly and in a clear voice so that the court reporter understands exactly what is being said and who is saying it. I note that this event is running live on Charm TV and also that a court reporter is present. Individuals who use profanity, are disrespectful, or unruly may be expelled from today's virtual hearing. All attendees, the applicants, licensees, and members of the public who wish to provide testimony during the hearings must be sworn prior to giving their testimony. There will be no physical evidence taken at these proceedings, and absolutely no amendments to the application may be made at the time of the hearing. And some helpful reminders to improve WebEx experience. Please be prepared. We ask that you have read the materials ahead of time and tested your video conferencing platform as well. Location matters. We ask that you please try and find a quiet space with good light and a strong internet connection so that you can be seen and heard clearly. We ask that you please be present and don't multitask. And lastly, above all, we ask that you please be patient with yourself and others. Moving on, the short docket is in front of you, Mr. Chairman, if you have any comments.
No, let's proceed.
In that case, excuse me, the first matter on today's docket is licensee Jackson Munoz and Marilyn Munoz, El Rincon Trocaleño LLC, trading as El Rincon Trocaleño. Premises are located at 422 to 26 South Macon Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. This is a reconsideration of a penalty imposed at a February 11th, 2021 violations hearing of the board. The counsel for the case is Mr. Harry Previs, and I am moving him in to the room, Mr. Chairman. He should be in the room, and I believe Ms. Munoz is with him.
Ms. Previs, will you identify yourself for the record, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Harry Previs on behalf of licensee Ms. Marilyn Munoz.
You're breaking up a little bit. Let's swear Ms. Munoz in, please.
Okay. Oh, it looks like, okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury? Sorry, I didn't hear the response.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, so everyone, you're going to need to speak up, Ms. Munoz, and Ms. Previs, I don't know if you're having a technical problem or not. You were coming in and out a little bit first. We're here because the board has granted in part a motion for reconsideration of its decision of February 11, 2021. We wanted to hear from Ms. Munoz as to what her plans are if we were to rescind that ruling.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may call Ms. Munoz.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So my plan is to run the restaurant itself with my mother. I'm no longer having my father there at all. Actually, myself, I had called the liquor board on my father one time because he was not doing what he was supposed to be doing. So I will go ahead and take the steps that I need to take in order to keep him out of the restaurant. I have already told him a million times, if they give me this license, I will call the police on you and I will have you escorted. Him and my mother have recently divorced, so she does have a protective order against him, and he cannot be around her at all. So if she is with me at the restaurant, he can no longer be around that area. And I told him I personally will call the police. We plan on keeping it a safe environment where it is, drinks, the food, but no nightclub, no nothing. What he was running, basically, unless we have what we need to run the way that we want it to run. We're going to take all the license that we have to. We're going to make sure with you guys that everything that I do is under the law.
And Ms. Munoz, what is your business plan going forward? Will it be a restaurant?
It will be a restaurant.
And Ms. Munoz, do you have full ownership of El Rincon Trocoleno LLC at this point?
At this point, I do.
And was there an order in your mother and father's divorce case that grants you full ownership of the LLC?
It does.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I know we did not submit the judgment of divorce into the record timely, but if I may read the applicable
Go ahead.
part of the order into the record.
Go ahead.
It says, pursuant to their agreement, the business known as El Rincon Trocoleno Restaurant and Bar, located at 426 South Macon Street, Baltimore, Maryland 21224, currently titled in defendant's name, shall be transferred to Marilyn Munoz, the 29-year-old adult daughter of the parties.
And that took place.
What's that, Mr. Chairman?
Did that take place?
Yes, it did.
So I'd like her to submit to the liquor board some proof of that, okay?
Okay, we will do that.
So do you have anything further before I respond?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So Ms. Munoz, so you understand, I'm going to make a proposal and see if the other commissioners agree with me, okay? I would rescind our revocation order of February 11, 2021 on the following conditions. Your father, Jason Munoz, would be barred from the facility of the El Rincon restaurant going forward. You'll file a substitution of ownership on the license with the liquor board, an application to do that within the next week or 10 days or so, and we will hear that substitution as soon as we're able to get to it on our docket. We'd like you to prepare an operating plan that will tell us what your plans are with respect to compliance with all our rules and regulations moving forward. And we're going to monitor the facility on a weekly basis to make sure that you're in compliance with the terms of your operating plan. And then we're going to bring you back before the board in a period of about 90 days so that we can have a discussion as to whether you're successfully complying with the operating plan or whether there are any difficulties. This facility under your father's management had an absolutely terrible record with us, and we revoked the license, and we were justified in doing so. We can't allow any more of that going forward. I think you understand that, but even minor violations are going to be taken very, very seriously by us going forward. So you've really taken on something here to try to turn this around, and we hope that you're successful, but we're going to be watching every step of the way. Let me ask the other commissioners if they agree with those terms or have any to add.
I agree, Mr. Chair.
I would agree too, and would also add that in the operating plan that there's a clear schedule of when you'll be there and when and who will be managing it when you're not there, along with contact information appropriately.
So, Mr. Previs, does your client understand what we're proposing?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And
will
is she in agreement with trying to comply with those requirements?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, then we'll move forward. We will issue our ruling. You will have to, again, as I said, file to substitute and take your father off the license and submit an operating plan to us within the next 10 days. And you can expect that you will be seeing our inspectors on a regular basis. But we are hopeful with you that this will be a turnaround and things will go well. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. A licensee and council will receive follow-up instructions consistent with the board's ruling via mail on the steps that the board has ordered to comply with to move forward. Mr. Chair, are you ready to move to the next matter?
Yes.
The next matter before the board council is also Mr. Previs. It is a request to reopen of licensee Leslie Frisbee Sr. and Gabratnitse Magnisteab, New Fulton Liquors LLC, trading as New Fulton Liquors. Premises are located at 745 North Fulton Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21217. And as I stated, this is a request to reopen of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license.
Okay, Mr. Previs, would you identify yourself for the record again, please?
Again, for the record, Harry Previs. Here with me is Mr. Mangistab, licensee of the premises.
Okay, do you want to tell us, we have a letter from your offices of August 9, 2021, requesting the authorization to reopen. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yes, there is. If I may proceed by proffer, this location had a fire in June of 2019. They've had issues reopening and getting the necessary permits, but in the next hopefully 90 days, they will get all of those permits, or in the alternative, they will be filing a transfer application because the location is having some issues with zoning and the permitting process.
Okay. Now, we had received a request for postponement from Ms. Greer at the Harlem Park Neighborhood Council. Are you familiar with them?
I have not spoken with Miss Greer.
Well, she had indicated that they're having a meeting on the 4th of November, and they would like your client to attend and discuss with them what's going on there. So if we grant this request to reopen, I'm going to require that they do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we can, if you don't have the information, our staff can provide it to you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So with that in mind, I would vote to approve the request for reopening. Would the commissioners have any questions or comment?
No comment, Mr. Chair.
I too would approve the request to reopen with the condition that the licensee attend the November 4th meeting.
And
Yes.
I didn't,
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Blunt, you
Chair, I didn't comment on the vote. I also, based on testimony provided today, I vote to reopen the establishment.
Do you want me to check for public testimony, Mr. Chair? Is that where you were going?
please. Yeah, do you have others who want to testify?
If any member of the public wishes to be heard on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chair, I do not see anyone who has raised their hand.
Okay, well then, thank you, Mr. Previs. If I said, if you need any information, our staff will provide it to you so that your people can comply with our requirement, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board today. Licensee and council will receive follow-up instructions on how to legally comply with the reopening request that the board preliminarily granted today.
Next case.
The next matter before the board is also a client of Mr. Previs, applicant Joanna Zulis and Filipos Blitzis, Elaros LLC, trading as Plaka Tavern. Premises are located at 4714 to 18 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. And this is a request for a hardship extension of a excuse me. This is a request for a hardship extension of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. And I believe I'm moving Mr. Zulis into the panel. Everyone should be in, Mr. Chair.
All right, Mr. Previs, one more time. Would you identify yourself, please?
Harry Previs. And
Okay.
Mr. Glista should be on here, licensee, along with John Zulis.
You want the testify, or are you going to proffer?
I'll proffer. This transfer was filed right before the pandemic, and over the course of the pandemic, the licensees were not able to do the necessary work. However, they are pretty close to being able to open. I think they're working on the permits now, the final use permit, but they would like the additional hardship extension.
And that is a 90-day request?
Yes, a 90-day request.
Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Greenfield?
I'm sorry, no questions.
And do we have public comment, Mr. Blundy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chair, I do not see anyone who has raised their hand.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Previs, then, on the basis of your proffer and the materials submitted, I would vote to approve the hardship extension for a period of 90 days. Commissioners?
Yes, based on testimony provided today, I vote to approve the request for transfer hardship extension for 90 days.
Based upon the proffer and the letter from counsel, I too would grant the request for hardship extension for 90 days.
Ms. Russell, do we have exhibits?
No exhibits for the record.
Thank you. Good luck to your client, Mr. Previs.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee and counsel will receive follow-up instructions from this agency on what materials must be submitted to reopen. Or, I'm sorry, this is a hardship extension. My apologies. You'll receive follow-up instructions from this agency. Anything further on this one, Mr. Chairman?
No, let's go to the next case.
The next matter on the docket today before the board, applicant is Barry Truxton Jr., Holland's Place LLC, trading as Holland's Place. Premises are located at 1114 to 16 Holland Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21223. And this is a request for a 180-day hardship extension of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Licensee is representing himself and has been moved into the panel. And Mr. Truxton, if you see a start video button at the bottom, please push the start video button.
Are you there, Mr. Truxton?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Hey, can you push the start video so we can swear you in, please?
Yes, sir. I hit it.
There you go.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Truxton. We have your letter from August 20 indicating that you were affected grievously by the shutdown connected to the pandemic.
Yes,
and you're
sir.
trying to transfer the license. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes, sir. I'm dealing with a gentleman now, and he's trying to find an establishment to transfer the license to.
And you think you can do that in the next 180 days?
Yes, sir. I hope to do so.
All right. The commissioners have any questions for Mr. Truxton?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Do we have public comment, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. I do not see any member who has raised their hand, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Truxton, then on the basis of your submissions and your testimony this morning, I would vote to approve a hardship extension for a period of 180 days. Commissioners?
Yes, based on testimony provided today, I vote to approve the request for hardship extension to 180 days.
Based upon the testimony and the letter, I too would grant the hardship extension for 180 days.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
No exhibits for the record.
All right, Mr. Truxton, good luck to you. I hope you're able to find an appropriate person to transfer it in that time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That concludes this matter before the board. The licensee will receive follow-up instructions from this agency via mail. Mr. Chair, anything further, or are we ready to move to the next matter?
Let's move on.
The next matter before the board, licensees Maria Nadakanagaya and Crystal Peoples, Cheeses and Company Incorporated, trading as Curly's Liquors. Premises are located at 5200 Reisterstown Road, Baltimore, Maryland, 21215. And this is a request for a 180-day hardship extension of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license. Mr. Yu is counsel, and I have moved him into the room.
Morning, Mr. Yu. Will you identify yourself for the record, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jay Yu, representing the petitioner, Ms. Crystal Peoples, who's present with me. Video.
So we have, you want to testify, or are you going to proffer?
If I may, I'll proffer, Your Honor.
Okay. So
Um,
we have your letter of April 15 indicating that there was a fire that has caused some difficulty. Do you want to add anything to that?
yes, so the difficult part right now that the licensee has is we're really at the mercy of the landlord to finish repairing the roof, which is still not repaired. So at this juncture, with the 180 days granted, we may have to file a request to do the location transfer. So we are looking for a new location, not too far from the current location. So that's why we need this extension, so that because landlord is not really cooperating. They hired a couple contractors, but they just backed out. I don't know exactly what happened, but the work is not getting done. So we need an extension.
Okay. Do commissioners have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Do we have others who want to testify, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chair, I do not see anyone who has raised their hand.
Okay. Mr. Yu, on the basis then of your submissions, including your letters to us and your proffer this morning, I vote to approve a hardship extension for a period of 180 days. Commissioners?
Based on the testimony provided today, I vote to approve the request for hardship extension for 180 days.
Based upon the proffer from Mr. Yu and his letter, I too would grant the hardship extension for 180 days.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
No exhibits for the record.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yu. Good luck to your clients.
Thank you. Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee and counsel will receive follow-up instructions with the board's approval of the 180 days today via U.S. mail. Ready for the next matter, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The next item on today's docket. Applicant Christopher Reagan, secured creditor, trading as no trade name. Premises are located at 313 North Charles Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21201. And this is a request for a 180-day hardship extension of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Mr. is counsel and has been moved into the room, and the licensee, I believe, is also now into the panel, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
There we are. There we are. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, David F. Mr. Winter, and Bartlett, representing the party secured creditor who is requesting this hardship extension.
Okay, good morning. You have proper for you. We have a letter from you February 4 making the request. Do you want to elaborate a bit?
Yeah, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, originally we requested on January 22, but we had to supplement that by our February 4 letter, adding some additional information for the board's elucidation. Due to COVID, the original operator, Maisie's, closed at this location. My client's the landlord. We filed then an application for substitute secured creditor on September 25, 2020. The board approved that on November 23, 2020. And thereafter, we went through the process trying to identify an appropriate new tenant for the premises. And frankly, we reached the conclusion that we would form our own entity to operate there. And that's why we went forward with the request. Since we filed this request, we actually have filed an application for transfer of the license to an entity with in which the principal of the secured creditor, Mr. Reagan, who's on the WebEx call today, is one of the owners of the entity, and that's pending before the board now. That applicant is 313 North Charles Food Group LLC, and we had a little issue with getting the appropriate resident. We were missing one. I think that's all been satisfied now, and we're awaiting the board to schedule the transfer hearing. And I hope the board will consider this and grant this hardship request. And as soon as we can get before the board and satisfy the checklist items, hopefully we can get the license back in operation.
Okay, commissioners have questions for Mr.
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
All right, do we have anyone else who wants to testify, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chair, I don't see anyone who has raised their hand.
Okay. Mr. On the basis of the request that you submitted to the board and your proffer this morning, I vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension for this license. Commissioners?
Yes, based on the testimony provided today, I vote to approve the request for hardship extension for 180 days.
Based upon the proffer and the request from Mr. I too would grant this request for hardship extension for 180 days.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
No exhibits for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Good luck to your client.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Licensee and counsel will receive follow-up instructions from this agency on what the board's approval today means and what steps to move forward via U.S. mail. Mr. Chair, anything further on this, or are we ready to move forward?
Now let's take the next case.
The next matter before the board today, licensee Aubrey Reveille and Felicia Fleming, 27 Cross Associates LLC, trading as Boiler Room. Premises are located at 27 East Cross Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21230. And this is a request for a 90-day transfer hardship extension not to exceed 270 days of a current Class D beer, wine, and liquor license. I believe Mr. Kadensky is counsel, but he appears twice.
Mr. Knessy, are you there? Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing Mr. Reveille.
Good morning. So we have your letter of January 12 making the request. Would you like to tell us more about this?
Yeah, Mr. Reveille was here. He had a serious back operation, so I made that statement. You know, he just had to get some final inspections done in the location, and it's been a little testy with the health department, but he's going to have that scheduled. And I don't know that we'd need a 90-day extension, However, exercise of caution, I think better we have it in these times, trying to get some of the inspectors out there.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Do we have public comment?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chair, I do not see anyone has raised their hand.
Thank you. Mr. Kadensky, then on the basis of the submissions that you've made and the proffer this morning, I vote to approve a 90-day transfer hardship extension for this license. Commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chair, based on testimony provided today, I vote to approve the request for a transfer hardship extension 90 days.
Based upon the proffer, the letter from Mr. Kadinsky, I too would grant the transfer hardship extensions for 90 days, not to exceed 270 days.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kadensky. Good luck to your client.
All right, thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee and council will receive follow-up instructions consistent with the board's granting of the request today by U.S. mail.
And Mr. Kadensky, who are the people that are with you in the room, just so I can note them down?
Actually, people for the next case, I just had them here early, so it's always to be better to be early.
Okay, no worries then. Thank you.
Then Mr.
Call the
Chair.
next case.
Yes, sir. The next matter before the board today is applicant Olatunde Dipiolu, Good Budget LLC, trading as Bellissimo Sport Bar. Premises are located at 1001-03 East Pratt Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202. And this is an application to transfer ownership only with continuation of live entertainment of an existing Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Mr. Kadensky is the counsel, Mr. Chair.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the applicant.
Do you want it sworn or are you going to proffer, Mr. Kadensky?
I'll proffer if possible. In this particular location, I probably know this better than most people. For past 30 or 40 years, I had represented the prior owners in various times. It's always been the same location. There was a question about the live entertainment aspect because when the applicant filed originally, he just filed for continue the use and didn't add the live entertainment and dancing, which is on your liquor license. It's always been there. He's since corrected that, has the live entertainment and dancing on the certificate of occupancy. He's been there for the last 7 or 8 months operating the particular establishment. Generally, he's open 6 and closes by 2 o'clock, 1:45. Small DJ and small bands. It's 2 or 3 employees. All of them will be alcohol certified. We did have a Zoom meeting one time with some members of the community. There was some consternation about it being a key club or adult entertainment. That's nothing that he's looking for. He just wants to continue the same operation as they have. He had got some letters and some petitions that we had submitted. They should be in your file, where people have watched what he has done during the past 6 or 7 months when he was operating. He lives right down the street at 1005 East Pratt Street. He's the owner of the property that it's in, also owner of the property that he lives in.
Okay. So he's been there, you say, operating for 6 or 7 months. And before that, was he in the same business or what?
No, he was not. But he has a person, the lady sitting, I guess, next to me. You can see her now. She had been in the business and has been operating. He hasn't had any problems since he's been there, and he will continue to be with the people in the neighborhood, touch base with them. It's a tough group, but I think he can cope with it. And he is alcohol certified, and he has also been fingerprinted, and he'll have his servers also all be alcohol certified.
Okay. And I know the reporter is going to ask, so what's the name of the person with you?
The one that's with me is Tamika Tolles, T-O-L-E-S, T-A-M-I-C-K-A, I'm sorry, T-A-M-I-K, Tolles, T-O-L-E-S.
Okay, thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Do we have public comment, Mr. Blendy?
Potentially. If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. I do see someone in there. She did not raise her hand, but I'll just ask. Ms. Blatterman, are you there?
Yes, next
Did
I am here.
Did you wish to testify?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you wish to testify?
Actually, I had a guest here because we were doing this together. Michael DeChico is here. I believe he has sent a multitude of letters there.
Sure.
And then I do want to testify briefly, if you don't mind, but Michael is here.
So that
How
and
do I
you-
swear I got my hand up, so I don't know.
that's fine. Down at the bottom, there should be a start video button. You've been moved into the panel, so please.
Start
please.
video, that's it, right there. You got to see me. Oh my gosh, you see me now.
Okay. Hi. Okay. Would I be able to get the name of the person with you?
Michael Chico, D-I, capital C-I-C-C-O.
Okay. And first name was Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. C-I-C-C-O. Okay. All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Oh, and would you be able to say a response, ma'am?
You're muted, Ms. Blatterman. They disappeared and they're muted.
Yeah.
We lost them.
I'm here.
Okay.
I can see myself.
Okay. If you can just say your response.
I swear. Is that good?
Thank you.
I swear
Yeah,
under oath. Thank you. I
All right,
apologize.
what do you want to tell us? We lost you again.
Me, or can you hear me?
I can hear you. What did you want to tell us, please?
Okay, I'm Mr.
Who's-
DeChico.
Am I testifying? Yes,
I don't know.
I sent
Go ahead.
numerous emails in about the location. Number one, it's listed as a key club, meaning, in my opinion, a private club. That was
It's not- It's not going to be a private club. It's going to be open to everyone.
Once again, that is what the last liquor license for 2017 said. Also, the license is dead. The liquor license has not been renewed since 2017, ending in March or April of 2018. And I sent documentation that the property was for sale in 2018, which would make sense why they did not renew the liquor license. So the license has been dead since 2018, 2019, naturally 2020 because of COVID. Nobody asked for any kind of extension on the license. How the man has been able to operate, I do not know. Also, in the emails that I had sent, I sent a newspaper article stating that Club Orpheus was up for sale in May of 2018. So it all adds itself together. There's never been an extension, hardship extension of the license. Also, for the applicant himself, he is not a Baltimore City resident. He does not live at 1005 East Pratt Street. He lives in Gwynn Oak, which is a Baltimore County address. Also, the LLC, the reason we didn't have meetings until the short meeting that we had with him and the attorney, waiting for the land records to come through to see the transition of the property 1001 through 1005. And it's been leased or sold to a non-entity. There's two LLCs. One,
listed on the land record site, 1001 Pratt Street, which is not recognized as being in good standard by the state, and also 1001 East Pratt LLC, which is a non-entity. The state has not even heard anything, about it. My big thing is the private club. No, I fully understand this day and age, it cannot be operated as a private club. It's a different type of license altogether. But the official license, the last one on the website for the liquor board says restriction may operate as a key club. And that's where it says live entertainment and dancing and, whatever it says. When I first talked to Mr. Blendy via email, April 2016, I had brought these points up, and his response to me was that he had already talked to the zoning administrator because the underlying zoning and use permit do not allow for live entertainment at this location. Also in that email from April the 16th, I told Mr. Blendy, I did the use and the occupancy city website, it had listed the address saying that the use was for a tavern, to use as a tavern. There was no mention of live entertainment there. Later on in May, I think it was May 20th, the potential new owner or the owner of at least maybe of the property had applied for a use and occupancy permit saying live entertainment. There was a misconception on my part about the word adult entertainment on the original application. It shows on everybody's applications. And if you check, you want it. So that was my fault there. Once again, the license has been dormant. 2017, it expired March of 2018. It was not open in 2018, was not open in 2019 because of COVID, not open in 2020, and it exceeds the 180 or 300 and some days that you guys are allowed to do. Once again, the Key Club, that license is 40, 50, maybe even 60 years old. I sent a picture of the building. It's all enclosed. There's just an entrance door that says, right now, it says open. There's no glass. You cannot see in. And the reason why, because of the type of club that it was over all those years. And now everything else, today, everything is politically correct. So I don't want to start using letters and words and get myself in trouble. Mr. Kudinski sent a corrected page 1 saying, dining, dancing, delivery of alcohol. Yes, I have no idea what delivery of alcohol, means. He says that, he checked off again that he's Baltimore City resident, which he is not. They cannot live in 1005. Seating capacity was listed as 300 on the new application. Fire code says it's 200. 156 on the first floor and 44 in the mezzanine.
I can't hear you. We lost you.
The new owner says that he has a petition of potential of people who signed it. We have no idea who these people were. When he first came with the petition, I was sitting on my step. He asked me if I was willing to sign it. I told him no, because I have a number of questions, basically everything, that I have said here. We had a community meeting Monday that involved something altogether different. And the people on the 200 block South Exeter Street, where his side of his building is, nobody said they signed any kind of petition. So I don't know where the signatures are, who they are they in the immediate area? And the problem with this, as the private club or the club that was there prior to this man coming, he's asking for live entertainment with DJ. I sent you one of his flyers with the music and the dancing. This thing is between two residential neighborhoods, Little Whitley and Jonestown, or if you want to call it Albemarle or Albemarle Square. All my documentations should be in front of you. But the biggest thing right now is that even a good license to transfer? And I feel sorry for the man. You guys decide that it's not. Once again, there was never an extension, a hardship extension.
Well, we got you the first time. All right, Mr. Cadency, you have questions for the witness?
No questions.
Well,
Thank you for your time.
okay, you just leave that testimony there, because our records don't substantiate what he's just said. So we have as open as of February 25, 2020, and the extension granted by the governor, totaling the timelines. So I don't know where he got his information. Commissioners have questions?
Can I speak again, sir?
Wait a minute, let's see if the commissioners have any questions.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
No questions.
All right, what was it, Mr. DeChico?
The information that I documented the information because that was sent into an email to you. If you look at the history of Club Orpheus for 2017, you open up the file. It tells you who the owner is, Thompson, and I can't forget the other lady's name. That's where it says Key Club. There is no application for renewal for 2018. There is no application for renewal for 2019. I agree with you for 2020 that because of COVID, nobody had any renewal application in there. When I backtrack, I ran the restaurants in my neighborhood for 2018, and I saw where they renewed their license. This is the only entity, well, this is one entity in my neighborhood that did not apply for a renewal of license 2018 or 19, and that is on the liquor board's library records. That's where I got my information from. So you should be able to document everything I'm saying. And if not, I sent individual emails and then I try to compile them all into one. And the documentation is there. It should be there in front of you.
I have one last question for you, Mr. DeChico.
Yes, sir.
Our records indicate that this facility has never had a violation of a liquor board rule or regulation. Why are you so opposed to it?
Because now, because of, the live entertainment in Little Whitley, none of the restaurants have any kind of bad marks against them since the beginning of time. All the entities in the neighborhood, the businesses who have live entertainment, agree to have live entertainment up to 11 p.m. because it is a residential neighborhood. They can stay open to 2 a.m. because that's what their liquor license says. Also, this man's liquor license says he has the right to stay open until 2 a.m. But the live entertainment, I had tried to bring it up to Mr. Kudinsky in that video meeting we had at Gio's restaurant and the owner of the property. And I told him I knew it would hurt, but all the other businesses agreed to 11. Why don't you? And if you go out on the internet, he's advertising himself as a sports bar, tavern, lounge, and nightclub. There was just an agreement in the neighborhood with the old Villages with Remix. They're trying to do the same thing with live entertainment, and they agreed to the 11 p.m. Shutdown of live entertainment with the capabilities of staying open until 2 a.m., which that's what the liquor license says. They have until 2 a.m. I opened my window one day when the weather had cooled down, and I could feel the bass coming out of that building into my house, and I live across street from this man. That's why I'm against it, and more so, we never had a problem with Club Mitchell, Club Orpheus, Snugs, whatever it was called, or whatever people want to stay, it is. The building was all enclosed. We knew everything that was going on. Now, this guy, he says he's serving food. He's got another address, 729 East Pratt Street. They have no restaurant. He has no restaurant. And that's why, I'm opposed to it. We knew what was there. Once again, no problem. Everybody shuts down at 11 p.m. Live entertainment. Here, we finally have a chance to say something that we would like to have. This is why we are protesting.
Okay, does Ms. Blatterman have anything to add? We lost you again.
Did you lose
right.
me? Am I there now or no?
I can hear you. Are you going to testify or not?
Yes, I would like to say a few words if you don't mind. Now,
Go
I'll
ahead.
be brief. I'll be brief. We did meet with the gentleman. He's a nice gentleman, nice people. And what Michael has said, that's his findings. And also about the live entertainment, we are trying to keep the community with the live entertainment that everyone is seeking to 11 p.m. But just on the basis of this particular corner here, just know that they did have live entertainment, but it was never open to the public. It was always a private club. And so they kept their live entertainment within themselves. It was never anything outlandish or loud. So we've never been bothered by it. So now the license is going to be transferred. We did speak with the gentleman. He did case when you find that the transfer is a legal transfer. He did agree to certain things for us. We talked to him about he has the security, because he said he's going to have armed security around his business while he's open. He told us that himself. So I want to hold him to that if you don't mind. The other thing we spoke about was third-party promoter, that they would not lend themselves to do third-party promotions in the building. It would just be him, the first and second party, him doing the business out of that building. And I think everyone deserves a chance, and we support, he's got a great sign that he just put up, and the people like the sign. I think it's, and then he put lights up, which is good for the community too, the safety feature of that corner. So we want to be good neighbors and to him as well as him to us. So if we can agree the security that he brought up himself that he was going to do, and the third party, no third party promoters in the building, then everyone deserves a chance. And that's where we are.
All right, Mr. Cadency, you have anything further?
Nothing further other than I'll just add that all the permits they had that's been there. So like I said, I've represented these people for 35 or 40 years. It was not closed. I was in there myself a couple of times, as long as a couple of others. And he understands he has to be a good neighbor. And if he doesn't become a good neighbor, then of course he'll be subject to being brought up between the board. But he's made an investment, bought the buildings, and is operating. And I think it should be able to go ahead and continue. As far as the letters and on the petitions, I just sent those in because there seemed to be a lot of people that were not pleased or whatever it was. But if you look on the petitions, there's High Street, Exeter, Pratt Street, all in the area. I would submit at this point.
Okay. Commissioners have anything further?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just what Ms. Blatterman and Gina concern was the third-party promoters to do venues. Mr. Kudensky, can you respond to that?
You're not going to have third party.
I would like to, because I didn't remember having any discussion with her about third party. If you would like to let me know what she means about third party, maybe.
It's when you, if I may, Mr. Chair, it's where you subcontracted another party to come in and use your establishment to do live entertainment.
As far as that, we
So,
have clients.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you want me to swear him in? Or,
If he's going to testify, he has to be sworn in. Yeah.
I think I don't think he has any intention to have third parties. Everything's gonna be done through his own company. It's probably the way to say it best.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further?
Thank you, Sue. Thank you.
All right. So,
Thank you.
Vladimir, just before we roll, you know that working with these licensees is a matter of the community getting together with them and trying to get them to agree to various things. Sounds like you have some agreements, some maybe not yet. We don't have the authority to control the hours of a license. The legislature sets those. But if you all can reach some agreement on it, that's fine with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if he violates any of our rules and regulations, then we can come down on him. But
Right. Right. I understand, sir. And they've been good neighbors. We want to be good neighbors, but we will keep an eye on things, and it's important. I appreciate bringing up about the promoters, because that's been a hassle in the past for us, and we don't want to go back to the same stuff we put up with. So we just, live and let live, but we all want to live a quiet, lovely. We look forward to this, and then if things go awry, we will see you in April. That's the
Yes.
best I can tell you.
understood. All right. Okay. So on the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the proffers from council and testimony received, I vote to approve the application to transfer ownership of this BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license with continued live entertainment. Commissioners?
Based on testimony provided today, I vote to approve application to transfer ownership of live entertainment with a BW7 beer, wine, and liquor license.
Based upon the application, the proffer, and the testimony, I too would approve the transfer of ownership, continuation of live entertainment.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
Michael Exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, package of opposition from Michael DeChico. Board Exhibit 2, letter of opposition from Keith Walmsley in opposition. 3, letter from Stanford University. 4, 2 letters of support, and 5, petition of support.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Cadentier. Good luck to your client.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for testifying.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee and council will receive follow-up instructions on how to legally complete the transfer of ownership with continuation of live entertainment that the board preliminarily approved today, which by law must occur within 180 days of today's hearing. Mr. Chair, are we ready to move forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a moment to do some WebEx housekeeping.
That's what I'm afraid of. But you know what, Michael? I think what you did was you gave him the correct answer. He says, where you get the information? And you said, right.
We got to
Yeah.
take them out of the panel.
Yeah, they're out of the panel. They're still. I for whatever reason can't see. It's not opening the participants section.
Yeah.
All right. I move them out. View all attendees. There we go. You. Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman.
That's all right.
All right. Then the next matter before the board today, excuse me, applicants Jonathan Richard Pannoni, John Porter Jr., and George Watson, LP Grand Central LLC, trading as Grand Central. Premises are located at 1001 to 03 North Charles Street, Baltimore, Maryland 21201. And this is a request for a 180-day hardship extension of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. And I will be moving Mr. Pannoni in. And I believe this is Mr. Fogelman. I'm moving him in.
All right, Mr. Fogelman, identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. You could hear and see me, correct?
Yes.
Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of applicant.
All right. So we have your letter. from September 2 requesting the extension. Do you want to elaborate?
Yes, I'll be brief, and I mean it. So in this case, the licensee suffered materials delays due to supply chain issues on items like lumber, exterior framing materials, and they're now working with possible tenants and trying to get a lease together. So I've asked for an extension for 180 days. It would extend until, I believe, January 20, 180 days from December 28th, 21. I think that would be June 22, 2022, under the 12/20/202 extension request. Thank you very much.
All right, commissioners have questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Public comment, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chair, I don't see anyone who has raised their hand.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fogelman, on the basis of your submissions and your proffer this morning, I vote to approve this request for a 180-day hardship extension. Commissioners?
Based on testimony provided today, I vote to approve the request for a hardship extension for 180 days.
Based upon the proffer and the submission, I too would grant the request for hardship extension for 180 days.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
Okay, well, good luck to your clients, Mr. Fogelman.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee and council will receive follow-up instructions from this agency via mail on the board's approval of their request. Mr. Chair, are we ready to move forward?
Yes.
The next matter is applicant Nipen Maharjian and O'Neill Miri, MTKG LLC, trading as Waverly Tavern. The premises are located at 3801 Old York Road, Baltimore, Maryland, 21218. And this is both a request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days, not to exceed 270 days, and a regular hardship extension request of 180 days of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. And Mr. Fogelman is counsel.
Okay. Once again, Mr. Fogelman, please.
Thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of applicant.
Okay. And we have your letter of September 13 requesting the extensions. Would you elaborate, please?
Yeah, I'll be very brief. As you heard Mr. Blendy say, this is both a 12/17/05 and a 12/20/202. He chose to treat it that way, and I appreciate that because this is a pending transfer. This premises caught fire on May 22nd of this year, and at this point, with the governor's timeline, December 28th would exhaust this license. So I'm asking for 180 days from that date. I am also asking for, on behalf of the current applicants, the pending applicant, a 12/17/05B extension for 90 additional days past December 28th, 2021. By my math, the hardship extension would expire on or about June 22nd, 2022, and the transfer extension would expire on or about March 28th, 2022. Thank you very much.
Commissioners have questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Anyone else want to testify, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to be heard on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the WebEx platform. Mr. Chair, I do not see anyone who has raised their hand.
Mr. Fogelman, on the basis of the materials submitted to the board as well as your proffer this morning, I vote to approve both requests for the transfer hardship extension as well as the regular hardship extension, one for a period of 90 days and the other for a period of 180 days. Commissioners?
Yes, based on the testimony provided today, I vote to approve the request for a transfer hardship extension for 90 days and also for a hardship extension for 180 days.
Based upon the proffer and the submission, I too would grant both the transfer hardship extension for 90 days and a hardship extension for 180 days.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
No exhibits for the record.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fogelman.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee and council receive follow-up instructions on the board's actions today via U.S. mail from this agency. Mr. Chair, are we ready to move forward?
We are.
Then this would be the final item, I believe, on today's docket. This is a continuation of a hearing from a previous meeting of this board. The applicant is Tracy Ford, Indolo's Cuisine LLC, trading as Indolo's Cuisine. The proposed premises are located at 123 North Clinton Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. And this was a continuation of an application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license requesting off-premises catering that the board continued from a previous hearing for the purposes of the council and the applicant to meet with the community and hopefully work out an MOU. There are many people who testified and are under oath previously. I don't know how the chair wishes to handle this, but Mr. Fogelman is counsel.
Okay, Mr. Fogelman, one more time, please.
Thank you, Stephen W. Fogelman, on behalf of the applicant. And Your Honor, I thought testimony had been cut off at that point, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't recall where we were, but I understand that they have agreed to reach a memorandum of understanding with the Community Association. Is that correct?
That is my understanding, Your Honor, and I have a signed copy of it here just to briefly elaborate on.
And has the licensee agreed to have those terms made part of his license?
That is correct, Your Honor. She does.
Her license. Okay. And is there something that we missed in the testimony previously that you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to make, I just wanted to explain that the applicants, in addition to other restrictions, specifically at paragraph 13, have agreed to close the business each Sunday through Wednesday at 11 p.m. and at midnight each Thursday through Saturday. And I want to thank President Workmeister for the opportunity to work with him.
Okay, good. Do the commissioners have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Do we have any public comment, Mr. Bundy?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. But I'll go ahead and say the words. If any member of the public wishes to use or to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature on the WebEx platform. I do see Mr. Workmeister is here. I'll move him in. I know Mr. John Wesby and Matthew Gonter mentioned earlier that they wish to testify. And I have a few other people that are here. So I've moved those three individuals in. If anyone else wishes to testify, please use the raise your hand right now, or else I will not move you in. So then, Mr. Chair, those three individuals are in the panel.
All right, let's swear them.
Okay, I see Mr. Workmeister. Mr. Wesby, if you could raise your right hand. Okay, and Mr. Gonter, if you would be able to turn on your video and raise your right hand. I'm just waiting on Mr. Gonter right now.
Hold on, I do have one more person that raised their hand. I'm going to move Victor Abangwa in as well, Madam Court Reporter.
Okay. I'm just still waiting for Mr. Gonter to raise his hand and then to turn on his video. And Mr. Abangwa, if you can turn on your video and raise your right hand. Okay. Right now I only see Mr. Workmeister and Mr. Wesby. Oh, okay, there's Mr. Abangwa. And then I still don't see Mr. Gonter on video.
Well, let's proceed. We can't wait all day for him.
Okay, all right. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury? And please state your name before your response.
John Wesby, I do.
David Workmeister, I do.
Okay.
Oh,
Mr. West,
Mr. Obangwa.
oh,
I just didn't hear Mr. Obangwa. Would you be able to say a response?
Victor Bongwa, I do.
Thank you.
okay. Gentlemen, let's start with Mr. Westby. What did you want to tell us?
Thank you, Commissioners. Last week we spoke, you gave me the impression that Mr. Bungway, you perceived him to be a naive businessman who had made several missteps when starting out. I'm here to testify that that could not be further from who he actually is.
Objection, Your Honor. Objection. Is this new? I don't understand what we're doing here. I believe everyone had an opportunity to testify at the last hearing. So if there's something, I thought you had closed the evidence, quite frankly, and asked us to see if there was one last chance to craft an MOU. So I don't know what the basis of this is or how probative it is for you. And so I would object to any testimony at this time.
Well, let's be brief. Tell me just quickly, Mr. Westby, what is it that you wanted to tell us?
Commissioners, we presented clear facts about the infractions that Mr. Obongwa did when he opened up. You asked us to come together to meet with him again. I'm here to offer the relationship that I've had with him in the past that signifies why this person should not hold a liquor license. I prepared just a few sentences that I'd like to offer into the record.
Objection. Was Mr. Westby at the prior hearing where we spent hours, Your Honor, hearing testimony?
I'm confused. I thought Tracy Ford was the applicant.
Tracy Ford is the applicant, Your Honor. You're right.
What does that have to do with Mr. Obongwa?
Would you like me to answer, Commissioner?
Yes.
Mr. Obongwa is the operator, sir.
Okay. But we're not issuing a license to him. So I think that's an issue you have to take up with Ms. Ford. So did Mr. Workmeister have something to add?
Just that PPNA is, after what were more productive conversations with the applicant and Mr. Fogelman, we are withdrawing our letter of opposition to this license.
That's fine. Okay.
I want to be clear that, we are, with the stipulations that we put in place, we're willing to give them an opportunity to show what kind of neighbors they are. We want to make sure that the MOU is enforceable, and if we encounter issues in the future, that we can bring them to the liquor board.
Well, they're agreeing that the terms of the MOU are a part of the license. So to the extent they're enforceable by law, we can impose them if they violate. Okay.
Great.
All right. And Mr. Obongwa, what did you want to add? I think we've lost him. Okay. Commissioners have anything further?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
And I assume we have no other public comment, Mr. Blendy?
Mr. Chair, I don't see anyone else that has their hand raised.
Okay, thank you then. All right, Mr. Fogelman, on the basis then of the materials contained in the applications, the testimony that's received from the last hearing as well as today, and the memorandum of understanding that was entered into between the applicant and the community association, I would vote to approve the application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license with off-premises catering, subject to the terms of the MOU to the extent those are enforceable by law. Commissioners?
Yes, based on the testimony provided today, I vote to approve the application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license and requesting for off-premise catering, along with the MOU made part of the license.
Based upon the application, the testimony, both last hearing and this hearing, I too would vote to approve the new Class B license with off-premise catering, with the attached MOU to the extent it's enforceable by law.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
Michael Zippis for the record. Board Exhibit 1, MOU.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fogelman. Good luck to your client.
Thank you all for your patience in this matter. I appreciate it.
Mr. Blendy, does that conclude our docket?
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee and council received follow-up instructions via mail on how to legally obtain the license that was approved today by the board. And yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe that was the final matter on today's docket.
Okay, well, before we lose your voice entirely, do you want to read the adjournment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. The board will be in recess until Thursday, November 4th, 2021. The board shall post on its website, provide notice to applicants and/or attorneys, and conduct a virtual hearing on this date. Please call our office at 410-396-4377 between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. with any questions or concerns that you have on this matter or any other. That's all we have for you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I want to thank the commissioners and the staff, and especially you, Nick. I hope you feel better very soon. And all those who participated today, and wish them the best. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thanks to all the people that figured out how to make a vaccine.